I thought I knew where my money goes. I was wrong. Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm terrible with money, but I'm trying to fix it. So I gave myself one job. For 30 days, I would track every dollar I spent. Not just rent, not just bills, everything. Coffee, snacks, bus fare, random app charges, subscriptions I forgot existed. If money left my account, I had to write it down. Because apparently, I think I'm doing fine is not a real financial system. It's more like a bedtime story I tell myself before my bank app ruins the mood. Day one felt easy, almost suspiciously easy. I bought coffee, logged it, paid for transport, logged it, grabbed a snack because I have the self-control of a raccoon near a bakery, logged it. It felt organized, mature even. Like maybe I had finally become one of those calm adults who know exactly where their money goes. By day three, tracking stopped feeling productive and started feeling invasive. Every little purchase suddenly needed a label: water, gum, cheap snack, convenience store nonsense, tiny app fee. None of it felt expensive in the moment. One small purchase never feels like the thing ruining your finances. But small purchases don't travel alone. They show up in groups quietly every day, pretending to be harmless. So, I built a simple system: spreadsheet, notes app. One rule: if I spend it, I log it immediately. Amount, category, sometimes even the reason. Coffee because tired, snack because bored, delivery because lazy, subscription because I forgot to cancel it 3 presidential administrations ago. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. The point wasn't to look smart. The point was to make my spending impossible to hide from me. By the end of the first week, I noticed something annoying. Big expenses are obvious. Rent is obvious. Bills are obvious. They don't sneak up on you. They kick the door down and demand attention. Small spending is different. It slips past you in sweatpants and whispers, "Relax, I'm only $5." I kept waiting to discover one huge mistake. Instead, I found a bunch of tiny ones working together like a very organized crime syndicate.
Here's your coffee.
And once I noticed that, the challenge got uncomfortable because awareness is irritating. Ignorance is peaceful. Ignorance lets you buy a $6 coffee and call it a treat. Awareness makes you buy that same coffee and hear a tiny accountant in your soul whisper, "Again?" Every purchase started sounding louder. Before, money just disappeared. Now I could hear it leaving, and then I checked subscriptions. That part hurt my feelings. The gym app I never opened, the streaming service I forgot about, the premium tool I signed up for during one ambitious week and then immediately abandoned. None of them looked dramatic. They were just quietly charging me every month like tiny legal pickpockets. That was when I realized, I didn't just have a spending problem, I had an attention problem. I wasn't looking. Week 2 was when I finally did the math. I opened the spreadsheet, grouped everything into categories, and looked at the month as a whole. Coffee, snacks, transport, delivery, subscriptions, random little purchases that somehow kept happening. I expected one big villain. I wanted one dramatic answer. But the truth was much more annoying than that. I didn't have one giant leak. I had 100 tiny ones. The purchases I remembered were not the ones costing me the most over time. That was the real twist. The dangerous spending was the repeat spending, the automatic spending, it's just this once spending that kept happening over and over again. I wasn't making dramatic financial mistakes. I was making small, unexamined decisions on autopilot. And repetition is expensive. So I didn't try to change everything right away. I didn't want fake progress. I didn't want one of those dramatic new life moments where I delete every app, stop buying joy, and become a budgeting monk for 48 hours. I just kept tracking, because before you fix a habit, you have to catch it in the act. I wasn't trying to be perfect. I was trying to be honest. I'd reach for a snack, then remember I'd have to log it. I'd open a delivery app, then picture typing in the total, the fees, the tip, and my own disappointment. I'd see a subscription renewal and think, do I use this? Or have I just accepted it as part of my personality? Writing things down made them real. And once something is real, it's harder to lie about. And by week 3, I could predict my weak spots. Afternoons when I was tired, evenings when I was bored, days when I felt productive and decided I had earned a little reward, which is incredible logic, by the way. Great job answering emails, Dave. Here's a pastry. Tracking showed me something numbers alone couldn't. I wasn't just spending by category, I was spending by mood. What made it worse was how innocent each purchase looked by itself. A coffee is not a crisis. A snack is not a crisis. Paying for transport is definitely not a crisis unless the bus somehow charges emotional damage fees. But when all those tiny purchases sat together in one neat list, impossible to argue with, I realized I had been using the word small as a way to avoid thinking. Small purchases hide behind their size. They count on you not paying attention. And I was making that very easy for them. I also realized how often convenience was making decisions for me. Not hunger, not need, convenience. I'd buy food because it was faster. Renew something because canceling felt annoying. Tap my card because tapping feels painless, and my brain apparently mistakes painless for cheap. That's the sneaky part of modern spending. It doesn't feel dramatic, it feels frictionless. And when friction disappears, thinking tends to disappear too. So I added one more column. Why? Tired, bored, in a rush, rewarding myself, too lazy to cook. Suddenly, the spreadsheet stopped looking like math and started looking like a personality profile I did not request. The total mattered, sure, but the pattern behind the total mattered more, because once you can see the trigger, you can interrupt the routine. Before that, you're just replaying the same scene with different receipts. Then I looked at the full total, and the scary part wasn't that it was dramatic. The scary part was that it looked normal. A normal month, normal coffee, normal snacks, normal subscriptions, normal convenience, normal tiny decisions. But normal, repeated without awareness, had become expensive. That's the trap. Most money problems don't show up dressed like disaster. They show up dressed like habits. The biggest surprise wasn't that I spent money. Obviously, I enjoy being alive. The surprise was how much control I'd been giving away by not paying attention. Because if you can't see where your money is going, you can't decide where it should go next. You're not directing it, you're just reacting to it, and reaction is expensive. Like tracking felt less like budgeting and more like turning the lights on in a messy room. The mess was already there. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. If you don't track your money, you lose control of it. That's the lesson. Not because you're bad with money, not because you're lazy, because untracked spending turns into background noise. And background noise can drain an account without ever feeling important. For 30 days, I thought I was collecting numbers. What I was really collecting was proof. Proof of patterns, proof of triggers, proof that the small stuff was never actually small. Next, I want to see what happens if I actually cut the leaks. Not everything, just the dumb stuff, just the mindless spending that survives because it hides inside routine, boredom, and convenience. Tracking showed me the problem. The next level is finding out what changes when I finally do something about it